Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, children. Children, today you will revise question answer of chapter friction. Yesterday you had revised the entire chapter friction. So today I will discuss question answer. Okay, like first is fill in the blanks. Friction always dash any relative motion between the two surfaces that are
Opposes.
Opposes. Okay. Next, static friction is always dash than sliding friction. More than
Greatest.
sliding friction.
More.
Okay. Static friction is always more than or greater than sliding friction. Next, sportsmen use shoes fitted with spikes to
increase
friction between their shoes and the ground. It is to increase friction. In blank, you have to write to increase. Next, fourth number is sprinkling of talcum powder on the carom board helps to reduce friction. In blank, you have to write reduce. Friction on an object moving in a fluid depends on its two things: shape of the object and speed of the object. Okay, so you have to write frictional force on an object moving in a fluid depends on its nature also, nature of the fluid. Okay, three things determine the fluid friction: nature of the fluid, shape of the moving object, and speed of the moving object. Here question is frictional force on an object moving in a fluid depends on its nature. Okay, nature of the fluid. Next, sixth number. The shape of an aeroplane is dash.
Streamline.
Streamlined. The shape of an aeroplane is streamlined to reduce the effect of friction due to air. Now, next question is true or false. State true or false for the following statements. First is, when a body slides over smooth and wet surfaces, the amount of interlocking of irregularities of the two surfaces in contact increases. It is false. Okay, it is false. Next, if a car moves eastwards, the force of friction acts southwards. It is false. Next, friction depends on how hard the two surfaces press against each other. It is true. Friction depends upon two factors. First is nature of the surface in contact, and second is force pressing the two surfaces together. So it is one of the factors. Friction depends on how hard the two surfaces press against each other. Okay, it is true. Next, fourth number. The sole of shoes and the tires of the vehicles are treated to decrease the effect of friction. It is false. Because groove and threads increase the friction. So it is false. Next, fifth number. Lubricants can be liquids, semi-solids, or solids. It is true. Lubricant may be solid, semi-solid, or liquid. Example, you have seen talcum powder is solid, and grease is semi-solid, and oil is liquid. All these three are lubricants. So it is true. Next, sixth number. Friction can be increased by using ball bearings between the moving parts of machines. It is
False.
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 The bearings reduce friction, so it is false. Seventh number, friction. Fluid friction can be minimized by giving suitable shapes to the objects moving through the
True.
fluid. It is true.
True.
Okay, true. Next, C. Question number C. Tick the correct option. 4 options are there. You have to take the correct one. Suppose first one. Suppose your writing desk is tilted to a position where a book kept on it just starts sliding down. The figure showing the correct direction of frictional force acting on it is, you can see 4 diagrams are given. So in which case, in which diagram the force of friction is acting correctly?
Last
All of
diagram.
you should know here that frictional force acts in the opposite direction of the moving object. If an object is moving in this direction, frictional force will act in opposite direction. So last option is correct. Okay, last option is correct. Next, 2 boys are playing oppositely directed and equal in magnitude
Static
forces
friction.
on a box as shown in the figure. 2 boys force on this box. 2 boys are applying force, and this force is opposite and equal in magnitude. So which type of force is it, children?
Static friction.
Static friction.
Yes, it is balanced force. From one side, a friend is applying, then from the other side, his friend is also applying 2 Newton force. So this applied force is balanced by the opposite force, and the box does not come in motion. The box remains at rest. In such a case, the force of friction that would exist between the lower end of the box and the ground would be called static friction, because the box is not in motion. This time the object is at rest, box is at rest, and force is being applied, frictional force. So when the frictional force acts when the object is at rest, this type of force is called static friction. So which option is correct? Static friction. Have you taken?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next, third number. 4 students were asked to arrange the frictional forces due to rolling, static, and sliding friction in an increasing order. Their arrangements are listed below. The correct arrangement is, it is in increasing order.
Sliding, static.
Rolling, sliding, static.
Friction and then static friction. Children, it is very important. Sometimes you may be asked to arrange these 3 frictions in increasing order. Like in this question, you are asked to arrange it in increasing order. So the value of rolling friction is least, then value of sliding friction is more, and the value of static friction is maximum. But if you will be told to arrange these 3 types of frictions in decreasing order, then how you will arrange? Can you say?
Static, sliding,
Static, sliding, and rolling.
Yes, very good. Static friction, sliding friction, and lastly, rolling friction. Very good. So this type of question may be asked in the exam. You will never confuse children. Okay. Now, 4th number. The energy used up in overcoming friction gets converted mainly into sound energy, light energy,
Heat energy.
energy used up in overcoming friction gets converted into heat energy. For instance, when you rub your palm, you are rubbing means there is friction, and this rubbing produces which type of energy? Heat energy. Your
Heat
palm
energy.
hot. Okay, so heat energy is produced when you rub your palm, because the rubbing you have seen there is overcoming friction gets converted into heat energy. Next, 5th number. Rahul rolls a ball on a wooden surface. the ball covers a certain distance before coming to rest. To make the same ball cover a longer distance before coming to rest, Rahul should spray
Sprinkle
the
talcum powder on
newspaper
the
on
wooden
the
Sprinkle talcum powder on the
Talcum
wooden
powder on the wooden surface.
Sprinkle talcum powder on the wooden surface. Spray the jute bag on the wooden surface. Children, you should know that when you talcum powder, the board becomes smooth and the ball can move faster. So, sprinkle talcum powder on the wooden surface is the correct option. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Next question, sixth number. A block is sliding on a horizontal surface. The force of friction between the two can be increased by decreasing the area of contact of the block with
By
the
putting a
surface.
second
By
identical box
putting
on the top of the given box.
from the
on the top of
surface,
a giving box.
by polishing the surface, by putting a second identical block on top of the given block. Okay?
Ma'am, fourth option.
How can we, the force of friction between the two surfaces can be increased? By putting
By
a
putting a
second
second identical box.
block on top of the given block. Means when you will increase the weight, the friction will also increase. So last option is correct. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, question number D. D1. Define the term static friction and sliding friction. Can you define, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, any one of you define
Static friction. This existing force of friction that exists between the object and the surface on which it has been kept called static friction. And sliding friction, the friction that exists between an object and a
Can I
surface
start
when the
the
object is sliding over that surface.
Okay. Sarthak 8C. Give the answer. Sarthak. Turn on
the
your
force
video.
of friction which comes
Answer.
into play when there is no relative motion between the bodies?
Yes. And what is sliding friction?
The force of friction which exists when one body is sliding over the other surface.
Okay. Correct answer. Next is state the meaning of the term rolling friction and fluid friction. Again, give the answer. Rolling friction and fluid friction.
Should I?
Ma'am, may
Yes.
Kumar Anshu?
Yes. Give the answer.
Rolling friction, the force of friction resisting the rolling motion when an object rolls over the surface of another object. And fluid friction, the frictional force exerted by fluids against a moving object is called fluid friction or drag friction.
Yes. Fluid friction is also called drag. Okay. Correct answer. Next is state the likely cause of friction. Now I will say name. Name of the student has to give answer. Aditya Arya, 8A, roll number 13. Give the answer. Aditya Arya. What is the cause of friction? Next student, who can give the answer?
Ma'am, Kumar Anshu.
No, I use it.
Yes, give the answer.
The likely cause of friction is the irregularities of the one surface get interlocked with the irregularities of the another surface.
Okay, correct answer. Okay, what is the cause of friction? All of you know the interlocking. Suppose this is one surface, this is one surface. There are irregularities on both the surfaces. When these irregularities get interlocked, then force of friction comes into play. So what is the cause of friction? The interlocking of the irregularities of the two surfaces in contact. Did you understand? What is the cause of friction? The interlocking of the irregularities of the two surfaces in contact is the cause of friction. Next, a box is resting on the floor To move it, a force is applied as shown in the diagram below. Give the value of the force of limiting friction. All of you know, children, maximum value of static friction is called limiting friction. Okay, so what is the value of limiting friction?
3F.
3F.
EF.
PF.
Yes, 3F. Because in first case, the box is at rest, where the applied force is F. In second case, the box is at rest, where the applied force is 2F. And in both the cases, the box is at rest, so it is static friction. And as the box starts to move, when the box starts to slide, the maximum value of that force is called limiting friction. Maximum value of static friction is called limiting friction. So the value of the force of limiting friction is 3F. Why does the box stay at rest in the cases corresponding to figure A and B? Why the
Because
box
the
is
Due
at
to static friction.
Because the applied force.
Because the static friction balances the applied force.
The limiting
Yes.
force.
Yes, correct answer. When the force is increased, from the opposite side, that force is balanced. Applied force is balanced. So the box is at rest. Next question. Mark the direction of frictional force and mention the kind of frictional force that comes into play in each case. Can you say, children?
Rolling friction. No, ma'am.
Sliding friction.
Yes. It is not rolling friction, it is sliding friction. Because the box starts to slide. Okay, so it is sliding friction. Limiting friction, here it is limiting friction. Mark the direction of frictional force and mention the kind of frictional force that comes into play in each case. In first case and second case, it is static friction. And in third case, it is limiting
Sliding
friction. Okay, and sliding friction. Am I clear, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Now, question number 5. Name the kind of force that comes to play when a book kept on a collection of cylindrical pencils is moved by pushing it.
A rolling
Can you
friction.
say?
Rolling friction.
Rolling friction.
Yes, it is rolling friction. Question is, name the kind of frictional force that comes into play when a book kept
Here objects
collection
finished.
of cylindrical pencils is moved by pushing it. It is due to rolling friction that reduces friction. Okay. Now, next question is question number 6. Why are objects given special shapes when they are moving through fluids? Why
They are given special shapes to reduce or minimize fluid friction and for acquiring good speed. The name given to these special shapes is called streamlined.
Very good, correct answer. When objects are, why objects are given special shapes? When they are moving through fluid. When they are moving through fluid, they are given special shapes so that they can minimize the fluid friction. They can minimize air resistance or they can minimize friction of the liquid and they can acquire very good speed. So to acquire better speed and to minimize the fluid friction, they are given special shapes. Write the name given to these special shapes. The name is streamlined body. Okay, it reduces fluid friction. So this special shape is given to minimize the fluid friction and to acquire a good, a better speed. And the name of this special shape is streamlined body. Next, children. Now we will start E. Question number E. E1. Define force of friction. List the factors affecting the force of friction. Explain with example. Children, all of you know when one object moves over the surface of other object, then between the surface of the two objects, a force comes into play that opposes the relative motion between the two surfaces of the object, and that force is called frictional force. Okay, and this frictional force opposes the motion of the moving object, and it acts in the opposite direction of the moving object. This is frictional force. Okay. Next is list the factors affecting the force of friction. Which factors are? Two factors affect the force of friction. One is nature of the surface in contact, and second is force placing
Pressing the two surfaces together.
surfaces together. That is weight. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
When one object slides over the surface of other object, then between the two surfaces of the object, one force acts, and that force opposes the motion of the moving object, and that force is called frictional force. That is a contact force. When you roll a ball on the ground, then between the surface of the ball and between the surface of the ground, one force acts which opposes the motion of the ball, and that force is frictional force. So ball covers some distance, and after that it comes to rest due to frictional force. Factors also you understood, children? Two factors that affect the frictional force. Just now I have told. Can you say what are the two factors?
Nature of the two
Yes, ma'am.
surfaces in
Nature of the
contact.
object,
Force
the
placing
force
the two
placing
surfaces
the two
together and the nature
surfaces.
of the two surfaces in contact.
Yes, nature of the surface of the object, whether the surface is smooth or rough, and next is force pressing the two surfaces together, that is weight of the object. When you increase the weight, the force of friction also increases. Next question. Picture is given. A ball is allowed to roll down an inclined wooden plank from a given height. At the foot of the inclined plank, it moves on a horizontal surface, differently covered one by one, as shown in the following figures. ठीक है बच्चों, आप देख रहे हैं बॉल जो है वो रोल इंक्लाइंड प्लेन से, तो ये इंक्लाइंड प्लेन है, तो इधर से बॉल ऐसे इंक्लाइंड प्लेन से ग्रो कर रहा है, और हॉरिजॉन्टल सरफेस है जिस पर एक हॉरिजॉन्टल सरफेस पे न्यूज़पेपर है, दूसरे पर वुलन क्लॉथ है, और तीसरे पर प्लेन ग्लास शीट है. ठीक है, तो न्यूज़पेपर रफ होता है, वुलन क्लॉथ भी रफ होगा, लेकिन प्लेन ग्लास शीट बिल्कुल स्मूथ है, तो इसमें फ्रिक्शन फोर्स सबसे कम लगेगा. ठीक है ना, न्यूज़पेपर सबसे, तो उसमें ज्यादा, लेकिन प्लेन ग्लास शीट पर स्मूथ सरफेस होने की वजह से फ्रिक्शनल फोर्स कम होगा. ठीक है, अब इतनी बात समझे. अब आपको क्वेश्चन का आंसर करना है. इन विच केस is the ball likely to move the longest distance? Give reason for your answer.
In third case, the ball will.
In third case, the ball will cover maximum distance because there is a smoothness.
The
There is
force
a
of
smooth
friction
surface.
applied less on the ball because the glass is smooth.
Yes, correct answer. In third case, the ball will move the longest distance because here the plain glass sheet has a smooth surface. Okay, so frictional force will be least and ball will cover maximum distance. Did you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
If the surface will be rough, then that rough surface will oppose the motion of the ball. But if the surface is smooth, the motion will be not opposed up to that much extent. So the ball will cover more distance in smooth surface. Here plain glass sheet has a smooth surface. Next question. Explain why sliding friction is slightly less than static friction.
When an object is
Once an object begins to move over the surface, the interlocking between the two surfaces is removed, due to which sliding friction is slightly less than static friction.
Yes, correct answer. You have seen, children, that it is very difficult to bring the object in motion if it is at rest. But it is easier to move the object when it is in motion, because the contact point of one surface do not get enough time to get interlocked with the contact point of the other surface. Okay. So in the sliding friction is less than static friction. Okay. अगर आप एक कार्ट खड़ा है, उसको रेस्ट में है, उसको चलाना मुश्किल है, लेकिन अगर वो मोशन में है तो उसको चलाना आसान है, क्योंकि जब वो चल रहा है तो उस समय कांटेक्ट पॉइंट को इतना टाइम नहीं मिलता है कि वो दूसरे सरफेस के कांटेक्ट पॉइंट से क्या हो जाए, इंटरलॉक हो जाए. ठीक है ना. The contact point of one surface do not get enough time to get interlocked with the contact point of the other surface. Therefore, sliding friction is less than static friction. Okay. Now give reasons for the following. Question number 1. We tend to sleep when we step on a banana peel. Why do we sleep?
We tend to
We
sleep
need
when we
frictional
step
force
on
to
a
move
banana
on a
peel
surface,
because
but the
the
banana
frictional
peel is
force
smooth,
acts
so we
less on the
tend to
banana
sleep
peel
on
due
it
to the
due to less
smoothness of the
frictional
banana
force.
peel.
Yes, banana peel means smooth surface. Okay, and on the smooth surface it is difficult to walk because we need frictional force to walk on the ground. When we walk on the ground, we push the ground in the backward direction, and from the forward direction frictional force is acting, which allows us to move on the ground. But in the banana peel, you see the surface is very smooth, there is no friction, so we sleep on the banana peel. If we tend to sleep when we step on a banana peel, because banana peel is smooth, there is no frictional force, so we can sleep. Next, why it is easier to push a lighter box than a similar heavy box on the same floor?
Because friction depends upon the force pressing the two surfaces together. It means it depends upon also. It means it also depends upon the weight of an object. If an object have heavier mass, then more frictional force will act on it. Hence, it is easier to push lighter box than a similar heavy box.
Wonderful, excellent. Who has given this answer?
Ayush Ratan.
Very good, excellent. Next question. Now Ayush, Ratan and Kumar Ansu has given many answers. Let the other children should also get the chance to give the answer. Okay, children? Kumar, Ratan and Ayush, Ratan and Kumar Ansu, now you will not give the answer. Okay? Other children will give the answer. Next question is, the force needed to start a cart is greater than the force needed to keep it moving with a uniform speed. Why? The force needed to start a cart is
Because
greater.
static friction is greater than sliding friction.
Yes, correct answer. Very
because
good.
because the motion started
Sliding friction. So the force needed to start a cart is greater than the force needed to keep it moving with a uniform speed. Next question. Why sportsmen use shoes fitted with spikes?
Because to increase friction.
and to have better grip on the ground and to avoid the slipping.
Very good, correct answer. Who has given this answer?
Ma'am, Priyanshu.
Very good, correct answer. Priyanshu 8B.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, correct answer. Next, ball bearings are used in machines. Why?
To reduce friction.
Yes, ball bearings reduce friction. Okay, so ball bearings are used in the machines to reduce friction. Next question. Tires of the vehicles need to be changed regularly. Why?
To increase
Because
friction.
tire face wear and tear problem, which will make its surface smooth and it will decrease the frictional force, which may result in skidding of vehicles.
To increase friction and have better grip on the road.
Correct answer. All of you know that when the tires move on the road regularly, then it becomes smooth. Okay. Otherwise, tires have treads on them. Therefore, they need to be changed regularly so that in the new tire, treads will be there, which will increase the frictional force, and the tires will not sink on the road and it will move properly on the road by increasing the frictional force. That tread will increase the frictional force. So tires need to be checked regularly. Next question. Machine parts are frequently oil or grease. Why?
To reduce friction.
Yes. Machine
And it
parts
increase
are
the efficiency
oil
of
or
the machine.
grease because you have read, children, that lubrication is very important to reduce friction. And oil and grease, both lubricants. Oil is liquid lubricant and grease is semi-solid lubricant, and both are given on the machines to reduce the friction and to increase the efficiency of the machine. Two things, to reduce friction and to increase the efficiency of the machines. Okay. Next question. Sport cars, aeroplanes and boats are designed to have a streamlined shape. Why?
To minimize the fluid friction and to acquire faster speed.
Yes, all of you know streamlined body helps to acquire better speed and it also minimizes the fluid friction. So these sport cars, aeroplanes and boats are streamlined. Streamlined means they are narrower at the two end and broader in the middle to reduce the fluid friction and to acquire a very good speed. Next, metal chains are wrapped on tires when they run on an icy road. Ice is very smooth. Okay. So, chains are wrapped on the tires to increase the friction. Metal chains are wrapped on tires to increase friction. And so that the tires can move properly on the icy road. Otherwise, it will slip. It will. Therefore, what is done? Metal chains are wrapped to increase the friction. Next question. Rollers are used for transporting luggage.
Rolling friction is less than sliding friction.
Yes.
That's why
Yes,
rollers
sliding
are
is
used for
replacing and rolling reduces the friction. So you have seen rollers are used for transporting luggage. Even a small child can carry a large suitcase. You must have seen on the railway platform, airport or on bus stand. A small child can carry a suitcase. How? Rollers is there. Rollers are there which reduces the friction. Okay. So rollers are used for transporting luggage because rollers reduce friction. Okay, to reduce friction, rollers are used in transporting luggage. Next question, state and explain with example how friction can help the cause of motion in certain situations. How friction can help the cause of motion.
In certain situation, friction
Friction helps to cause the motion. How?
because some amount of
because
friction
some amount
always
of
allow
friction
us to
always
have a
allow us to
better
have a better
control on
control
at the motion.
we increase friction by making the surface rough.
Yes, sometimes if the cap of the oil container is smooth, you cannot open it. Okay, you open it with a rough towel, isn't? So, in that case, what happens? Friction can help the cause of motion in certain situations. ठीक है ना? कभी कभी हम लोगों को मोशन करने के लिए क्या चाहिए? फ्रिक्शन चाहिए. कभी आप तेल का बर्तन अगर उसका लीड खोलना चाहते हैं, जल्दी नहीं खुलता है. आज मॉर्निंग में मैं खोल रही थी, खुल ही नहीं रहा था जल्दी. फिर टॉवेल से उसको खोली तो खुला. क्यों? क्योंकि उसका सरफेस बिल्कुल स्मूथ था. तो इस केस में हमको फ्रिक्शन जरूरी हो गया था मोशन के लिए, है ना, उसके तेल के डब्बा के लीड को खोलने के लिए what was required? Frictional force was required. Okay, so in many cases we need friction that help to cause the motion. With this, your question answer is complete, children. Now, anybody, value based question is also there. Ramit and Kush, both students of class 8, would often strongly argue with each other about the different aspects of their day-to-day school life. However, they made a very good doubles teams of their school for the inter-school badminton tournaments when playing together. They would forget all their differences and play as a team to ensure their school's victory. Their science teacher, who was also their badminton coach, would quote their example. He would explain to his students how the force of friction can be a good friend and a source of help, even though it was usually viewed only as a troublemaker. State the values displayed by Ramit and Kush.
Teamwork.